The Oregon Ducks got some major rumors as you go into the final, I'm going to put air quotes around that, week of fall camp from Zachary Neal of Ducks Wire. He went through and he released his depth chart 3.0. Who's going to be the starters? Who are going to be guys that could get some big playing time? We're going to break down what Zachary talked about as well as give our own 2 cents on it on today's video. The Oregon Football Report is presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Will Ortner, and I think a lot of Duck fans are thinking kind of the same thing that I am. What does this team look like, or what should the expectation be for this Oregon football team when they run out just a couple of Saturdays from now against the Boise State Broncos? Are we going to see an offensive line that has a lot of young players getting starts? Are we going to see 2 freshmen starting there? Who are some young players that might make an impact in the non-con as they try and work their way into being big-time players on this team? It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm very excited for this video. If you're hyped up that college football is back, hit the thumbs up button on today's video. I know the Ducks aren't playing this week, but we have real football games on Saturday that are going to impact FBS teams. Now, week 0 can be a bit weird, but that doesn't mean it can't be something that we can still get excited about. So when it comes to the Ducks quarterback room, this is what that list looks like right now. For your top 4 quarterbacks, people that are interesting to look at, I think that you're going to notice that one Akili Smith Jr. seems to be working his way up that lineup and up that roster. Now, Neal didn't end up putting him above Dylan Raiola, much to the chagrin of one producer, Tom, but it is something that is interesting to pay attention to. Now, I think we've heard good things about all of the quarterbacks throughout fall camp, but it does feel like Akili Smith Jr., you're starting to hear word after word after word about how well he has performed. Obviously, a lot of the coaches on the coaching staff are saying that he is certainly moving up on this team. Now, that's not to dismay Brock Thomas, someone who's had a lot of success here at Oregon, working his way up to really being the backup QB last year. Dylan Raiola obviously has a large skill set, but it is something to pay attention to that the QB room might have a different backup quarterback depending on what happens this year, and we're going to have a nice competition going into next year. The Ducks backfield, I mean, I think you can really just put running back 1A and running back 1B behind Dierre Hill and Jordon Davison, and you can interchange those however which way you want to. You really don't have a running back 1 and 2 with them. They are essentially kind of that same guy. When you look at the rest of that crew, obviously DeJuan Riggs, Tradarian Ball, Simeon Price, they've had a lot of success. The big name that's been popping up is Brandon Smith. He's very quickly been rising up the ranks of this running back room, so much so that you just hear every single report, good practice from Smith, good practice from Smith, good practice from Smith. The question is who's going to be that running back 3. Now, obviously, last year the Ducks went with a 3-headed monster system, but we also saw 4th and 5th running backs get opportunities. I think when you look at the non-con, especially that Oklahoma State game and the Portland State game, especially the Portland State game, I think you're going to see a lot of different running backs get some run as who can be that running back 3 for this team. And that's something that is fun to discuss. When you look at the wide receiver room, now it's important to mention that with Neal's piece that he put out on Ducks Wire, definitely go give that a check out if you haven't done so already. He had a couple of guys double listed. We didn't double list any of those guys. It's really more of a 2 deep, but understand that there's going to be some guys like a Messiah Hampton that we have just behind Dorian Moore at the Z. Doesn't mean that he couldn't bounce into the slot or bounce over to that X position. Obviously, the top 3 guys, that makes a lot of sense. Iverson Hooks is someone that I do expect to see a decent amount of run with. Jalen Lott, Hampton having a lot of success early as younger guys, as well as Gatlin Bear. When I look at this group, it is loaded from top to bottom. You have a ton of talent, and I do believe that Dante Moore is going to have another stellar year finding his different targets on this team. I think that Oregon has clearly put into place a group that is going to have a lot of success, and this is why you recruit the way that you do at the University of Oregon. You build depth through the high school ranks, and then you go out and you get transfer portal players to help fill in certain spots. We got so much more to get to on the program today, but first I need to let you know about the sponsor of today's video, because today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 sports picks app and is the best place to win cash while watching sports. With the football season right around the corner, there's no better time to cash in with our friends at Prize Picks. And I'll tell you this, the app is really easy to use. For player picks, just pick more or less on a few players' stats and lock in your lineup. That's it. Price Picks is available in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida. One thing I love is the new social feeds feature where you can share Price Picks with your friends and copy lineups with a single click. You can actually follow me on the app at BigWill7774 to see all of my lineups. I have a lineup for the football action going on later on this year. Dierre Moore, more on his receiving yards. Dante Moore, more on his pass yards. Damon Williams, less on his pass TDs. New user offer. Best of all, play your first $5 and get $150 in lineups if you win. Just use code HMA when you sign up. That's right. Prize Picks just switched up their offers, so there's no better time to join. Lock in and win that first lineup. That's code HMA at sign up to get $150 in bonus lineups if you win your first $5 plus lineup. When you look at the tight end room for the Ducks, I think we're starting to see a big emergence from Kendre Harrison. He is really jumping into that tight end 2 role. Now, it's important to remember Jamari Johnson is obviously going to be that number 1 tight end, but there was going to be a battle between a couple of different guys for that tight end 2 spot. And it does feel like Harrison, despite the fact that he is a young freshman, is clearly putting himself into a key role there and putting himself into a position where we are going to be talking about him being a big-time player for this team and making big-time plays. And I think that is a very good and fun thing to discuss. He's turning heads, if you will, and it shows just how talented that 2026 recruiting class is. When you look at the offensive line depth chart right now for the Oregon Ducks, this is the best guesstimate on the 2 deep. Again, another group that's important to remember. There are some guys that are going to be listed in multiple different positions. So a guy like a Zaire Addison or a Janoris Wilson, they are listed just in one spot on Neil's article. You might see them in a couple of different spots. I think that this is a very good crew right now that we could see do a lot of damage. Don't be shocked if Rogers bounces his way into getting a lot of playing time at the guard spots. Tommy Tofi is someone that I do believe could bounce around to a couple of positions. He's been having a lot of success there. Poncho, obviously, he's going to be the one holding it down at that center position, but there's a lot of skill in this offensive line unit and for the offensive line of the Ducks. Which position group is the deepest for the Oregon Ducks? Let us know down below in our comment section. I'm very interested in hearing what you have to say. I think that there are a couple of different position groups that you can make the argument, hey, they're loaded with this much talent, they're loaded with that much talent. I'm interested in hearing what you have to say. For me, I think it's pretty easy. It's the quarterback room. Now, I'm not going to go after you if you say it's the running back room, it's the wide receiver room, maybe it's the D-line room to you. In my personal opinion, you got 2 5-stars rocking and rolling as your 1 and 2 QB. You also got a 4-star QB in there as well. Plus, you got a couple other big-time names of guys that are going to be coming up really, really quickly. I like the QB room in Oregon. Now let's jump over the defense for the Ducks because there are a lot of talented position groups over there as well. And we need to make sure that we are giving them the proper highlight that they deserve. When you look at the defensive line for the Ducks, you're going to notice a really deep group with guys who can play in a multitude of positions. Now, again, you're going to notice certain guys are not in multiple positions. Don't be shocked if they are in multiple positions and maybe play a defensive tackle as well as a nose tackle for the Oregon Ducks. Right now, it's more so just about which group is going to have the most success. I'm not worried about the first string crew. I'm worried about the second string crew. Because last year, the Ducks, they did okay on that defensive line. They're going to be the first ones to tell you they need to do better in the red zone, and they also need to do better at getting to the quarterback. But a lot of the success that the Ducks had was the ability to have rotations, constantly having a new cycle go in, go in, go in, go in. Very similar that you would see to like a hockey rotation. You're seeing this become kind of the norm in college football and in the National Football League. The second string, they need to step up when it comes to the defensive line for the Oregon Ducks. We know the first 4. I trust them. What are we going to see for the rest of the crew? The Ducks linebacker unit, despite the fact that they have 2 M names for their linebackers, is actually pretty solid. And yes, I was complaining to producer Tom, how can you have a Mike and a Money linebacker? That just doesn't make any sense. I wish we went back to the days of Sam, Mike, and Will. Nasir Wyatt, he's someone to pay attention to. He's been having a gigantic camp, man. This guy keeps showing up. He's projected to be a starter for this team. Very exciting. Devon Jackson has had a lot of success as well. Don't be shocked if, you see a couple of guys bounce around to different spots. We had Wyatt bounced on a couple of different positions, as did Knicks there. So this is the one crew where we kind of broke our rules just because of the different positions where those linebackers could be. I do expect this group to be solid. I know there were some question marks around this crew. I trust them. I think you're going to see a lot of success, and you've been hearing about these guys having a lot of success, and that is important. We're going to end the show talking about the Ducks defensive back room. Now, I got a bunch of guys listed on here, and there's going to be some people that say, hey, Will, I don't know if you noticed this, you're going to have more guys on there on your depth chart than can actually be out on the field at one time. I am aware, and I have been made aware of that. I can count. Just understand that if the nickel is in, or the star position, you may see certain players not out on the field. Brandon Finney and Naeem Offord are expected to be your starting corners. Keep an eye out for Iffy. He is someone who can have a lot of success as well. Coy Parrish, Aaron Flowers holding it down at that safety room. And then at nickel, I think we could see a freshman in Devon Benjamin getting the start there. I'd expect to see a lot of movement. You had a lot of guys on Neil's rankings that bounce around to a couple of different spots. So don't be shocked if you see Iffy out there with Offord and Finney, and maybe that's a situation where, hey, you got one of those guys rocking in at that nickel position based on the matchup that you got going against the opposing team. I like the way that this Ducks defense looks, and I think it's going to be very solid. Hit the thumbs up button if you're excited for college football to be back, but more importantly, if you're excited for Oregon Duck football to be back. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so. We're trying to grow this thing all the way to the moon. You're going to get the latest news and rumors on the Oregon Ducks. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video. Can't wait to see you next time. And as always, Go Ducks.